I use a lot of techniques to help a child who's overcome with anxiety to lessen that in their lives and manage it better. But I know one problem that is created by parents. This solution doesn't work. Is that parents will sometimes try to reason with a child who's highly anxious, and that reasoning to explain to them why their anxiety isn't necessary doesn't work. Let me explain to you why I say that. I'm Dr. Scott Taransky, and I train parent coaches, and I work with children myself in our biblical parenting coaching program. Let me explain to you how we approach this difficult situation. When a child's overcome by anxiety, the reasoning often doesn't work. Now, with a child who's not overcome by anxiety, they're just feeling anxious, sometimes reasoning does work. But a child who's overcome by anxiety, trying to reason with them is rarely fruitful. It's like they're going down a path and they've chosen to be angry, or their body or their mind goes to the anxiety side, and they need to go over to the more peaceful side of life. Trying to walk them back and say, let me show you why it's not reasonable to be angry, rarely works, because a child say, well, there is that small percentage that the plane could hit our house, or there is that small percentage that our house could catch fire, or something like that. So they are rarely convinced by your arguments. Instead, they need to learn to jump tracks. And that's one of the things that God talks about in His Word in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. This is in verses 6 and 7. It's talking about anxiety. Don't be anxious about anything, but instead with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And so but in verse 8 it says, whatever's true, whatever's right, whatever's noble, whatever's just, and so on. Think about these things. In other words, you've got to jump tracks. You've got to make a decision that I'm not going to allow these racing thoughts to lead me down a path that is unhealthy and debilitating in my life. I'm going to choose a different thing to think about. I'm going to choose a different way to respond. It's interesting that that's the same kind of approach that's taken in The Sound of Music, when the lady has all the kids on the bed and there's a storm, and she creates that song, My Favorite Things, because you have to shift and move toward a different track in your life. And when you learn how to let go of something and move to something else, we call that faith. We call that trust. And when you understand who God is and you can trust Him in your life, then you can let go of the control or the need to know that often creates that internal stress inside. This is a habit. This is a skill that's learned, and we can help our children develop that if we work hard in this. So think about jumping tracks. If you want to learn more ideas like that, you can look at my free ebook, which is Equipping Children to Self-Regulate Emotions. You can find it at biblicalparenting.org.